So, interesting. I am not going to get all the buildings lit up. Why is the buildings not lighting up? So this is the view of Beijing Skyline. Right in front of us, we have the CCTV tower, and this big guy here is the CTAC tower. Now, what I thought may have happened, or may happen, is that this big, tall tower, the CTAC tower, I actually thought it may be lit up this evening because we have seen them testing some of the panels on the side of the building. Now, so far it doesn't look like that is going to light up this evening. However, it is Chinese New Year Eve, and we may see something possibly as we cross over from Chinese New Year's Eve into Chinese New Year's Day, which is about midnight. So I am not sure if that's going to happen. However, I may leave the camera running for a little bit longer now. Keep chatting. I'm not sure if anybody can hear me or anybody's watching. I think it says there's four or five people on watching this view. I also thought I may have had some ability to zoom the camera in, but it doesn't look like I can do that either. So you may see me move the camera about, try and show you a little bit of a view of Beijing on Chinese New Year Eve. Interesting thing is, it is freezing. I did have a plan to head out and maybe get closer to some of these buildings, but at this moment in time, it is freezing cold, so I'm not sure I'm going to do that. If anybody can hear me, drop me a wee text message, because I've never live streamed before, and this is quite an interesting thing to do. Which actually maybe one day I'll walk through the streets of Beijing at midnight live streaming, so you can see how safe Beijing actually is. A lot of people doubt that. I get it quite often where people from the UK, where I'm from, or maybe online in some other of the social medias that I'm in and out of, people will say, yeah, Beijing's not safe. Trust me, it's super safe. Walk around, very, very safe. And when my kids were here, two smashing kids I've got them back in the UK, grown up now, but when they were here, they were younger. My daughter's a little bit older, my son, maybe 5 years of difference, but when they were here, my son was 13, my daughter was 18, but they walked around Beijing without me because I was in and out of work at that time, and they would be super safe walking around. It's really cool. And they would come and meet me from work and stuff and walked up at night. Actually, one of the funniest times when they first arrived, I explained to them, I drew them a map for the way to walk to come and meet me. And like any son and daughter or girl and boy, they would argue and, fight with each other sometimes. When they arrived at the place that they were coming to meet me at, the two of them were very tense. And I was trying to work out what had happened. And I did say to them, be careful of the electric motorbikes, be careful of the cars, and be careful of the road. And I said, cross when the traffic lights tell you to cross, because one of the things you have to be really aware of here in Beijing is the roads and the silent electric bikes, because if you're not careful, they can take you by surprise. Although I have to say now it's a lot safer in that way, because the bike lanes and stuff are just a little bit more organised now over the last 5 years. But going back to that story, my kids had turned up and met me at the place of work, and they were really stressed. I was like, what's going on? And apparently, when they were crossing the road, my son was frustrating my daughter because my son, and I quote, my daughter, she was frustrated because he was crossing with the locals, or as my daughter called it, the wild locals are crossing before the green line, the green man come on. And my son was just going with them, whereas my daughter was staying on the pavement very, very still, waiting for the green man to come on. And back in the days where people knew the traffic, before the green man would come on, the walk sign, people would just head across the road. So my daughter couldn't get my head round this because she's very due diligent even to this day. When my son was like, yeah, the guys are crossing, I'm going, I'm gone, I'm off. So it was a really, tense for them. And I think my daughter was also getting used to Beijing at that time. They had just arrived. Where my son was a lot much more of a, let's go trying stuff. Very much, both of them are very much out and trying stuff constantly now. They're very outgoing kids. And my son just passed his driving test. He's 18, back in Scotland. He's just passed his driving test. And now, funny enough, he is suggesting that he wants a car. Anyway, so I don't know if you can see these buildings in front of me, but if you look at the one right now, that's showing the Beijing Olympics. And on the left-hand side, that's the mascots for the Beijing Olympics. But really interesting is the other buildings seem to move in unison. Now that says Happy Chinese New Year, I think, on that building now. And then you can see the other building down here, maybe here. That's going and reflecting what's here, if you can see that. It's pretty cool. I'm really quite disappointed because this big building, they were testing the panels at some point to see if they were working, and they were working different panels across that big tower. And that tower, I think, has got 108 floors in it. We are currently 50 floors up, and you can look up to that tower. You can see how tall it is, I think. It's pretty cool. So I wish I could zoom in and out of some of these buildings and you can see what's going on. But let's have a look at the road down there. I'll stand up a wee bit, move knees. Traffic's looking really quiet. It's Chinese New Year Eve, and typically this road at this time of night would just be a sea of red. You may have saw like California where the traffic is just a sea of taillights. At this time, I would be looking out this and it would be just all headlights on one direction and all tail lights in the other direction. It would be pretty cool. As you can see, there you go. That's the Beijing Skyline. It's really fortunate. I'm really lucky to live in this apartment at the moment. It's pretty cool. For a wee guy from Drumchapel in Glasgow, and if you know Drumchapel in Glasgow, it's pretty rough housing scheme. Maybe if you've watched Billy Connolly or listened to Billy Connolly, he would have told you about Drumchapel in some point in some of his stories. Well, that's where I'm from, and it's it's an old housing scheme in Glasgow. And then all of a sudden, bish bash bosh, life takes you, and here I am in an apartment 50 floors up in Beijing, looking over the CCTV tower and the biggest, tallest building in Beijing, which is this big CTAC tower, which is also known locally as the Zun Tower. I think it's because it's shaped like I think, don't quote me on this, it's shaped like a wine container, similar to, I think, the word is Zun. Might be talking crap. Interesting, the CCTV tower, if you see it from the other side, I don't know if you've seen some of my other videos, but if you see it from the other side, it looks like a big pair of pants, trousers. And the locals know the CCTV tower as Dakosa, which I think means, or I know, means big pants. So it used to always make me laugh that the CCTV tower, which is the main communication building for the CCTV, and we're all familiar with maybe the CCTV, which is like the BBC here in China. I find it quite funny that that's referred to as the big pants rather than the CCTV tower. So it's pretty cool. Let's have another look, maybe over here. Interesting when I go this way. There is I don't know if you can see it in the dark. I'll maybe try and see if I can change the mode. Oh, what the heck? Aye, that's a bit trippy. Oh, that's not happening. Glow, maybe. Pick her up. I don't know if you can see right in front of us here. There's a kind of big. Now, this is for the adults. It's more like a big vibrator type thing. Well, there you go. Building in front of us. That's the China. I think it's a China Daily or the Chinese People Press building. That's also quite often lit up at night. During National Day, national holidays and stuff, that's typically lit up red. So I don't know what's going on tonight. Usually you see more buildings lit up at this time of year, Chinese New Year. So it's quite interesting. Maybe closer to the tick over of midnight, we might see some more of the buildings. And I wish I could zoom the camera in, but it doesn't look like I can do that. And if I could do that, then I would maybe zoom into some of these other buildings. But as I can go down here, you can see we're 50 floors up. And across the road there, at that circular place, you can see in the middle of the camera now, that is a shopping mall. And next to that, there's a Blue Frog. And then on the other side is a Starbucks cafe, and it's a Starbucks Reserve, which serves the most expensive coffee in the whole of the damn world. Honestly, it's like a Monsieur Cafe or a Monsieur Cafe. That's how you pronounce it. Which is an Americano. It can cost you like nearly £5 just for a small Americano. Real rip-off. But there you go. That's Beijing Skyline. View from the apartment that I'm currently renting. And on the side, we're back to looking at the traffic, the road. Interesting, on this one here, this is the FFC mall. I don't know if you can see down there. And when you go up, you can see most of the offices are closed now. Chinese New Year. Yeah, sometimes I could, with a wee sneaky pair of binoculars, I can look across into some of these offices and see what's going on. So far, I've never, ever, ever seen anything fishy. But, you know, being nosy, I can sometimes keep watching and maybe one day I might see something a bit odd. So far, nothing happening in the big SeaTac tower. But here we go, I think, with the building possibly showing snowdrops now, and it may change to the Beijing Olympics basketball. There's another building in the distance here showing fireworks. I don't know if you can see that. Let me try and hold this still. It's kind of showing fireworks. That's the sort of the smaller building away in the distance there. You can see it here. So it's showing fireworks. Now, in some places like Qingdao or some other towns, you would see the whole skyline. I think there's a Wuhan video that I have, which is incredible. The whole skyline is lit up at night, and all the buildings are playing, almost playing to some musical or some transformation. So you can see a fish or a mermaid or something swimming from one building right across the whole skyline. It's absolutely superb. If you haven't seen that video, it's a Wuhan video. I went to Wuhan. I had to go. For various reasons, Wuhan was getting a lot of press attention. After maybe things had died down, I went to Wuhan to have a look at it, and I'm telling you, it's an incredible place. You should go and have a look at that video, because Wuhan is a massive city looking on the Yangtze River. And as I said, at night, the whole town just lights up. And I was on the other side of the river, and I had, again, another good apartment. Started off in a bad apartment, but I moved into an apartment or a room that looked right into the skyline in Wuhan. So I recommend it. It's amazing. And I did a nice time lapse so you can see the day disappearing into the evening and the buildings lighting up and some of that activity right across the buildings. Superb. So there you go. This is Beijing Skyline. Now, previously, this skyline here, you would start to see fireworks going off in the distance. However, over the last few years, they've been slowly restricting the use of fireworks certainly in the centre of Beijing. So Beijing's a number of circular ring roads, and I'm inside, or basically this road down here is more or less, this is the second ring road. So I'm just inside the second ring road, and you weren't allowed to fire any fireworks inside the second ring road because that's where most of the historical buildings were, like the Forbidden City and so on. So you weren't allowed to fire fireworks. Then a couple of years ago, it started to change, so moved to the third to the fourth ring roads. Now, I think you have to maybe move outside into the real suburbs, like maybe the sixth ring, roundabout there, to be able to see the fireworks. But if I was to go back 5-6 years ago, in fact, I moved into this apartment 4 years ago. If you looked at the skyline 4 years ago, you would have seen just, I mean, Guy Fawkes night, just fireworks everywhere in the distance there. But at this moment in time, simply because of, I think, partly because of the Beijing Olympics, to protect the air quality, because I have to say, when the fireworks are going off, the air is thick with that gunpowder smell that you can get at Guy Fawkes night in the UK. One of the first the first Chinese New Year I spent in Beijing was incredible. So I had just arrived in, somebody's saying the picture is very blurry. I'm hoping it might get a little bit clearer. It may be the Wi-Fi connection. It's a little bit slow tonight for some reason, possibly because everybody's at home and using Wi-Fi. I'll maybe try and see if I can secure that. But anyway, the first time I came here and Chinese New Year, I had went with some friends to the edge of the 4th, 5th ring road, and we were there, and the fireworks were incredible. The air was just thick with let me see if I can get this. Yeah, so the air was just thick with that gunpowder smell. But I was quite a far way away from this. I was quite far away from the apartment when I was out on the 4th ring, and that night the fireworks were firing crazy and the atmosphere was brilliant. The party was food. There was some real serious fireworks being set off. I mean, these guys just drove up in this like Land Rover, dumped all these fireworks and shot it off. I think I've got that video, I'll put it in a short. And they was just firing these fireworks off, and it was crazy, amazing. But then it became maybe 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, and I wanted to come home. I was getting tired, couldn't get a DD, basically a taxi. So I cycled back, and this was one of the most fondest memories of my earlier times in Beijing. I cycled through the streets of Beijing at 1 o'clock in the morning on Chinese New Year Eve, Chinese New Year morning. And it was like cycling through a war zone. Although I've never been at a war zone, which I'm very much anti-war. But it was just an incredible experience to cycle through Beijing. Fireworks going off, smoke, and there's me pedaling away in this mobike at the time, trying to get home. I was lost, and the only thing that I could keep me on getting in the direction was knowing that these tall buildings were in the distance. So I just kept aiming for the tall buildings, kept getting lost, confused in the smoke. It was a real experience. It's just a fantastic experience. I'm going to maybe say hello to, I think I've got some messages coming through. Hey Andy, how you doing? We've chatted a wee bit on WeChat. It's great to see you, mate. I just see your text coming through there. Oh. Hey, Boone, to you. Yeah, I saw that text saying the picture's very, very blurry, but I'll try and see if I can do something with the Wi-Fi or something. Maybe turn off a few other things that's using it. And Rice 68, which I know we've talked to a couple of times. You're saying there that China is super safe. When I was saying that earlier, it is. I have to tell you, it's really difficult to try and explain to people how safe China is, and especially when you're getting bombarded with so many counter narratives to that, maybe in the Western press. Enough said there, but when you're living and traveling through China, I get real confused because I see on the local news the reality of it, and it is. And one of the things you do realise here is the news is very tame. It's not sensationalism. It's just more or less just reporting, and a lot of reporting on nice things. Then I'll flick the channel and I'll see maybe the CNN, or I'll get some Sky News, because you get all that here. And it's just sensationalism constantly. And when it comes to stories about China, it's just boom, 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 negative, 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 negative. And then when you're traveling through China, I stop and I think to myself, this is not fair. It's not right. The Chinese people and the population here deserve a little bit better than this negative narrative driven by other interests. And if I was to think of what it feels like maybe if I was Scottish, and this does happen, you get a lot of negative press about Scotland from Westminster and so on. So you do feel a little bit frustrated by it. Very, very frustrated by it. I think the picture's settling now. Hey Andy, I saw your text there. Good to. I'm new to this live streaming. I think there's only about 7 people on, but I really wanted to try and capture some Chinese New Year skyline here. The Conrad Hotel. Yes, it's just, Thomas, the Conrad is virtually, 5 minutes walk from me, just up, looking the exact same direction on this same road is where the Conrad Hotel is. So it's more or less the same view you would have got. Conrad Hotel is a nice hotel. I was there for a function, very cool. The Conrad Hotel, I think, has got one of the most expensive hotel suites at the very top of the hotel. I think it's, $17,000 a night or something in the Conrad Hotel. I remember reading about that. But it's a very cool hotel, the Conrad Hotel. Sorry, Conrad Hotel. So this is Beijing. There you go. The roads are quite quiet. Chinese New Year Eve. I was waiting. I was hoping that the big fella, this big SeaTac building, would light up. I'll maybe hang on for maybe 5 or 10 minutes more. I'll pop off the live stream. That's half an hour now. Pop off the live stream, and then I think I'll manage to get back on at midnight and share some of this with you. Still feeling a little bit, just a little bit really too cold to get out and look around. Another thing is to live stream. It is quite difficult with the VPN on the 5G sometimes. But there you go. This is Beijing. Welcome to Beijing. I'll give you another quick tour. Hopefully the pictures settle down a little bit. But I'll just lift this up and you can have another look at the view that I am fortunate enough to be looking at most mornings. I have to say, one of these days, I maybe do a live stream in the morning, because over here is where the sun rises. Just if you follow that road, the sun rises. In the summer, it's actually not a fantastic sunrise. It's actually usually a lot more hazier. But in the autumn, maybe around October and now, you get an absolute stunning sunrise every morning. It's such a privilege to be here to see that, and maybe one day I could share that with you. So this is the Beijing view that I have. Yeah, daffodils, great to see you. You're absolutely right. The hotels in China just really took me by surprise. And some of the service levels are just excellent. At first, I think there was a little bit of learning on how to do some of that high service. But most of the hotels that I've been in have just been absolutely outstanding. There is a building away in the distance on the left-hand side. You won't see it. It's like a Darth Vader's helmet, basically. I did a video around it, which I titled or WTF is this black building in the distance, because I saw it was getting built, and in the distance, I always wanted to go and see what it was. I ended up going to see it, and it's actually an incredibly smart building, but on the very top of it, I found out after I walked away from the building and came home, there is a cowboy bar, believe it or not, a western bar at the top of that, that building. So I'm going to go back actually one day and shoot that, because the view from there would be incredible. Super cool. And it also had an Armani castle building, which was like each floor of the building was twisted. So they put one floor on facing one direction, then the other, so on, all the way up. And it was a pretty stunning building to see. But Beijing is so full of amazing, stunning buildings. But there you go. Really fortunate to be able to look out and see this view every day and every morning. Oh, there's the mascot. See the Beijing mascots on the building in the distance? The last time I seen all the buildings light up was on the 70th anniversary. I think it was the National Day, the 70th anniversary. I'm going to try and find that video. All these buildings were lit up. The only one it wasn't was the big SeaTac building. But trust me, they have been testing that building's panels over the last couple of days. Some have been lighting up. So I'm really confused. I was really hoping that big, tall building, the tallest building there, would light up. But fingers crossed, you know, you don't know. I'll pop back on at midnight. But listen, I'm going to jump off and then come back on the live stream around midnight, which will be 4 p.m. in the UK if you're in the UK. This is the first attempt I've ever had at live streaming. Quite good fun, to be honest. I think I was just talking away, talking a lot of crap as usual. But there you go, this is Beijing. So guys, ladies, I'm going to pop off and I should see you again on the live stream in a couple of hours. I think it's almost 10 o'clock here. I'm going to go back and watch the cabaret show on Chinese New Year Eve, going into the day. There's always a gala show, and it's quite funny to watch. I kind of use translation earpods and stuff and get the gist of the jokes, but Lisa, who's here, just laughs her way all the way through it. So it's incredibly funny, I believe. Obviously, to me, I'm not picking up too much of the humour, but to Lisa, she just laughs all the way through it. So that's the way it is. So there you go. I'm going to pop off. Hope you've enjoyed this, and tune back in a couple of hours, and let's see if any of these buildings light up. Race 68 saying the wife's watching it on YouTube. That's cool. Hope the maybe you could. Oh, the gala show. Oh yeah. I get you. Sorry, Andy. Yeah, I get you. The gala show. Actually, I was following it there. It was quite funny. I don't know if you saw that on the gala show. They had some martial arts fighters practicing on the skyscraper in Shanghai. It is an unbelievable shot, to be honest, because in Shanghai it's a lot more wet climate and it gets a lot more cloudier. But they were on top of I can't remember the name of the building. Coming to me, basically. They were on top of the tallest building in Shanghai, not at the Bund, which is the place in Shanghai, and they were doing the martial arts on top of that, and the building was just popping through the top of the clouds. Stunning. So you get a chance, watch the gala show from China. It's a little bit like the Hogmanay show in Scotland used to be before the BBC ruined it. Anyway, I will bid you farewell. Maybe turn the camera around. I'm going to bid you farewell. Pop back in a couple of hours, and let's see if any of these buildings are light up. They might actually all get turned off. I really don't know. Typically they would be closed off. The lights would be turned off about 11 o'clock. But let's see. Thanks very much. Peace out. As always, this is Ian in Beijing. Beijing's a lot different from what you're told. Follow me, and I'll share that with you. Take care. Bye bye. Tune in soon.